Welcome to Master Your Time, Love Your Life, a masterclass series for women ready to learn how to confidently manage their time, their home, their energy, so they can unlock what truly fires them up and live their dream life. I'm your host, Isaline Rosier, and today I'm super excited to introduce you to Tanessa Shears. Tanessa is a health consultant, and she is also the host of Becoming Limitless podcast. She is helping entrepreneurs scaling their business by optimizing their health, their focus, and their productivity with science and biohacking. Her passion is working really closely with entrepreneurs in order to implement effective sleep, nutrition, workflow, and stress management technique in order to eliminate brain fog and in order to help them get more done in 8 hours than most people actually do in a week. And she's doing that by optimizing the performance capacity of your brain and body in order to create moments which are impactful and meaningful and which help you scale your company way faster. Today, together, we are going to talk about how to biohack your brain and your energy in order to get more done in 8 hours than most people actually do in a week. Welcome, Tanessa. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to share everything today.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So before we start, can you tell us a bit about you and how did you get into health?
Yeah, so I am a mom of a 1-year-old. So applying all of this while learning how to be a mom and a business owner. How did I get into health? Completely by accident. I used to be the girl that would show up late for PE because I hated getting sweaty. I didn't like healthy food, but it was completely by accident. They offered me the position to teach aquafit, like fitness in the water, at the pool I was lifeguarding at the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'll take it because that means I have to spend less time in the water teaching. And it was always so cold. So as soon as I started getting my education about the fitness side of it, I was like, hold on, this is so interesting that I switched my university major in the same semester over to biomedical physiology and kinesiology. So because I was just like, I need to know more. So that was probably like in 2009. And since then, I have been taking more education, bringing in the nutrition side of it, bringing in the sleep side of it, bringing in the biohacking side of it, and seeing how it all plays together to not only have us create more energy, but to feel more productive and more focused. So it's one of those things that it started out as like an accident that I got into it, but turned out to be like the best thing that's ever happened to me.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah, thank you.
And so tell us a bit, what is biohacking?
Yeah. So biohacking is essentially, it's not as scary as it sounds. It's hacking your biology with the intention of creating solutions for your health that create more energy, that extend the life we are living, that make us feel better on a regular basis. And we're looking at what can I implement in my life that makes me feel better or to get more energy out than the energy I need to put in. So it's essentially coming up with solutions to work with our hormones, with our biology to make our life feel better and to make our health better and to just make us feel like we have more energy.
Okay, and so what are the benefits? Like better productivity, feeling better in your body?
Oh, 100%. So for example, one of my favorite benefits is I no longer wake up tired anymore. So when I wake up in the morning, my eyes open and I'm ready to start my day. I have way more control over the choices I make with my food. I skip my workouts way less often because when you're managing your energy through biohacking, then you are able to make such better decisions because we know you miss a night of sleep and all of a sudden you're eating all the things you didn't plan to eat. You're skipping your workout. You're so tired. It's that I'll start again on Monday mentality. So if we can find a way to tap into better energy through biohacking, then we are more consistent in every other area of our life. And that relates to energy, whether you're being a mom, whether you're being, in a relationship, your business growth, whatever it is, more energy is going to make you more productive. It's not about planners and schedules and to-do lists. Your productivity completely rests on your energy.
Interesting. And you said that actually biohacking helps you remove brain fog. So what is brain fog?
Yeah. Brain fog is a collection of symptoms. It's not like a single thing, like we could say you have a cold. It's more like a collection of symptoms. So for example, you're thinking of things like, when you're trying to remember a word and you just can't remember it and you're just like, I can't quite remember that word I'm trying to think, that little bit of forgetfulness. It's having energy dips throughout the day, meaning maybe you're good in the morning, but you crash in the afternoon and then you're up again and then you're down again, or you're just feeling maybe really drained at the end of your day, or you're feeling like you're easily confused and overwhelmed and you're easily distracted. So say if you're focusing on something and an email comes in or a message pings, all of a sudden you're distracted and it takes so long to re-engage and your thinking just feels clunky or cloudy. So if you're sitting down to try to be creative, or for me, in my case, write maybe my newsletters to my community, and I'm staring at the screen and I'm like, I can't think of anything great to say, that's showing me my brain isn't optimized and it's not at my peak performance capacity and I'm experiencing brain fog. So it's essentially that collective of symptoms where you just feel like your thinking is really clunky and it's not the way you feel it should be.
Okay, and is that different from feeling like really tired, or is that the same thing?
Yeah. So naturally, we are supposed to get tired as humans. We're not supposed to be like firing on all cylinders from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, or we'd never fall asleep, right? So naturally, as the day goes on, we have something called sleep pressure, and it's to do with a chemical in our brain that builds up. So our tiredness should increase as the day goes on gradually in such a way that by the end of the night, you grab a good book, you're ready to fall asleep. Maybe you're nodding off while you're trying to read. Like it's that good sense of like, I had a good day tired. Okay. You know the difference because real tired isn't waking up and feeling like your eyelids are made of cement and that you need 4 cups of coffee to get going, but it only lasts you to noon because you have a massive fall off in the afternoon. Like that inconsistency and starting the day tired is not normal. That's more symptomatic of low energy and brain fog than if you were just to be throughout the day gradually getting tired, just as we should. I mean, as the day goes on, we get more tired because night is coming. That's why we need to sleep.
Okay, and I just have a question. Is brain fog related to being a morning person or a night owl? Because like some people are really productive on the morning and some people are really productive on the night, or is that something completely different?
No, it's entirely related. So what you're talking about is called chronobiology. So if you think back to maybe let's go back to caveman times, meaning there needed to be a group of people to guard the cave entrance from predators in the morning, right? Those are the morning type of people. But we also needed people to guard the cave entrance at nighttime. And so those are your late night owls. So what we call our chronotype determines whether we are night owls or we are morning people. Would you say that you're one or the other?
Yeah, I'm definitely a morning person.
Yeah, me too. So that is called your chronotype. So when you are waking up, eating, exercising, and living within that rhythm of a morning person, you are going to feel a lot more clear. So where we get into trouble is when people try to be something that their biology is not. So for example, someone that is naturally a late night owl, and there is nothing wrong with that. That's just the way you're genetically programmed. If someone is a late night owl and they're used to staying, up till midnight, but they wake up at 7:30 or 8, if they then try to become a 5 a.m. wake up person, they will experience brain fog, not because they can't wake up at 5, because you can set an alarm. It's just that is going against your natural biorhythm. You are essentially giving yourself something called social jet lag.
Okay.
So by trying to force your schedule into something that it isn't naturally, you are using social activities like breakfast, workouts, wake up time, everything like that to force your schedule. And it's always going to feel like you have jet lag, and you will always experience brain fog because your hormones, your body temperature, everything that makes our brains work isn't aligned with how our bodies function with a clock. We need to make sure we're following that.
And do you think that with time you can actually change your biology? So if before you were like a morning person, can you become a night owl, or is that completely impossible with time and habits?
A lot of research has shown that it is actually set. So trying to change your chronotype would be like trying to change your hair color without hair dye. So if my hair is naturally this color, I can't dye it enough to make it start being another color, right? It's always a mask on top, but it's never going to actually change the color of my hair. So we think about like this too. So there's actually a gene that we have that dictates whether we need more sleep, less sleep, whether we're night owls or morning birds. So, I mean, there is a little bit of flexibility. So if a morning person wants to get up half an hour later or in a half an hour earlier, your body will adjust to that. But if you have someone that is geared to be getting up at 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., trying to get up at 5, they were going to have a very difficult time optimizing their body and feeling really clear, because they're always going to be battling that brain fog and feeling out of sync with their rhythm.
Okay. And so how do you biohack your brain and your body? What are the steps to follow?
Yeah. So the very first thing we need to do is figure out where inflammation is creeping in. So inflammation is one of the biggest causes of brain fog. And we're used to hearing inflammation and thinking like, oh, if I sprained my ankle, we get inflammation. It's redness, it's swelling, it's fluid in the area, right? But inflammation can happen in our brain. It can happen in our digestive tract. It can throw off our hormones and everything like that. So we really want to say, where can inflammation creep in? And there are 3 main places that I begin work with clients that inflammation creeps in. Number 1 is if we have poor quality sleep. Number 2 is if we have a lack of an optimum nutrition protocol, because it's different for every person I've ever worked with. And number 3 is chronic stress that does not get managed. It's just out of control. You're stressed out, you're overwhelmed, you can't sleep at night. So sleep, nutrition, stress are the biggest causes of inflammation that lead to brain fog. So we got to knock that out.
And how do you know that you have like one of these inflammation? What are the symptoms?
Yeah, brain fog. That's the big one. So it's kind of that feeling that it's like we said, the energy dips, the inconsistent ability to, be sharp and clear and focused and engaged. And even like imagine when you get a late night of sleep and it doesn't go very well, you're more irritable the next day. Those are all signs that something is off. Okay. So if we don't have our energy firing on all cylinders, we're going to be feeling that brain fog.
Yeah, but sometimes you can feel that you are tired because you don't have like enough sleep. But how do you know that it's related to nutrition? What are the, do you have like stomach, or what are the signs for that?
Yeah. So what I always do is we never know until we start investigating, because it could be your sleep and it could be your nutrition. It could be lack of movement. So what we do is we make sure that in the field of biohacking, we want to make sure that we're measuring what's going on. So I always love to start with looking at, for example, sleep. And what we do is we implement effective changes. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting good enough quality sleep? Are you following your chronotype that we discussed earlier, right? And we're looking at all of those things. And if we correct those and optimize those, and you're still feeling brain fog, well, then we go to nutrition, right? And nutrition is one of those ones where, yes, the bloating and the gas or the headaches or the frequent hunger are all great signs that is a place to start. But I always find that you can get the biggest bang for your buck in how clear and sharp your thinking is and how healthy your body is by taking care of your sleep first. So I do like to start there, because I usually find you get the most results from your improving your sleep than anything else.
Okay. And what are the mistakes people do about the sleeping? What is the common mistake people do about the sleeping?
The most common mistake I hear is when I have a client, they'll come in, they'll think their sleep is fine, because most people do. And until you actually look at your sleep and are you getting enough of the components of sleep? Because there's things that are going on during sleep that we aren't aware of until we take the time to track it. So my clients will come to me, they'll say, I'm fine. I go to sleep at 11. I wake up at 7. That's 8 hours of sleep. It's great. But what most of us don't know is that your body experiences a wake time at night, just little bursts of it between what we call sleep cycles. And that's totally normal. But when I start working with my clients, particularly entrepreneurial clients who will carry a lot of stress, who are usually not eating very well, who usually aren't sleeping very much, they often spend between an hour and 20 minutes of awake time each night, tossing, turning, wake up, go back to sleep, have trouble falling asleep. And what this means is if you go to bed at 11 and you wake up at 7, and you spent an hour tossing and turning and awake during the night, you're now only getting 7 hours of sleep. So most people don't know that there's a difference between the amount of time your body needs to be asleep and the sleep opportunity, the amount of time you need to give yourself So if I'm aiming for 7 hours and 45 minutes, I spend on average about 40 minutes a night per week. So I always have to give myself 8.5 hours.
Okay.
From time I close my eyes to time I wake up to ensure that my brain is on point for what I need to do the next day.
Okay. And what are the techniques that you are using to remove stress? Because stress is one of your 3 elements.
Yeah. So for stress, one of the biggest things I teach my clients is how to focus on one thing at a time and do what I call a cognitive load detox. So if you think about the idea of cognitive load, as the day goes on, we make a lot of decisions, we think about things, we create things, we problem solve. This piles up the load on our thinking capacity and our processing capacity. We need to intentionally deload, take some of that load off of our brain at the end of the day. So the way I love to do that is through a process that I teach called a cognitive load detox. So if you think about during the day when we're working, we are likely thinking of our work tasks, the email that came in, the text messages that came in, what are our kids doing? Did my pet get dropped off on time at daycare? All the things that are going on. Our brain is in 10 places and it's taking a lot of processing power. So when they get home in the afternoon, or even in those little windows in your workday, I always like to ask my clients, I need you to take at least 10 to 15 minutes to do a single focused task that has loose attention. So a good example of this is something like going for a walk, but not going for a walk and listening to a podcast or an audiobook.
Okay.
I'm talking about that time where you just go and you allow your brain to kind of like, what we're after is something called alpha brainwave activity. Because right now, while we're talking and probably while everyone is listening, we are thinking of things. We're having thoughts about what we're hearing. We're probably thinking, did I start the dishwasher earlier? There's all of these things going on. We are in what's called beta wave brain frequency. It's focused, it's flow, it's concentration. We need to intentionally spend time in one step down called alpha brainwave frequency. The waves are slower. And this is that feeling that makes us feel like, refreshed. Because we often think it's activities that make us feel refreshed, like a bubble bath or a massage, but it's not. In fact, it's the brain waves that you need to get into. So alpha brainwaves is something where you don't have to think about what you're learning. So a good example to contrast is if I were reading a book on sleep chronotypes, which is what I'm reading right now. If I'm reading that, my brain is in beta. It's thinking, it's processing. How can I apply this to my clients? What can I take? How my brain is working really hard. In contrast, if I pick up a fiction book, my brain slips into alpha. I'm not worrying about work. I'm not trying to process this and how can I use this information? How can I apply it? I'm just there for the adventure. And there's that difference in brainwave frequencies, which is going to allow us to restore the capacity we need to show up the next day focused and sharp.
I think that's an amazing advice because actually a lot of my clients are really overwhelmed, and what I advise them is to like put everything on paper, everything that they have in their head. But as you are telling, like, okay, they are just like unloading their mind, but they are still like in the idle wave. So they are still like thinking too much. So I think that's a really amazing advice. Just basically you are resting because your brain is not doing anything.
Yes.
If I understand right.
Yeah, it's allowing a loose focus. So great examples of other things that work really well, like folding laundry, but just being there folding the laundry, not thinking about something else. Don't have the TV on in the background. Don't be having a conversation at the same time. Cooking dinner, having a focused conversation, going for a walk, reading a book. For me, my one at the end of the night is I put my daughter to sleep. It's nice and quiet. I have 15 minutes. I'm going to wash my face, take my makeup off. I'm going to put my lotions on. It's that 10 to 15 minutes where that's the only thing I'm thinking about. And my brain kind of just gets to sigh after the day.
So it's not multitasking at all. It's really one task, one focus, and that's it.
Exactly. It's learning how to take a step back from always having so many things on the go. Like we have a hard time as a society being focused on one thing. The TV always has to be on in the background for a lot of people, or a podcast has to be on while they're in the shower. Like it's really just learning to be where you are for pockets of the day. Not saying it all has to be like this, but there needs to be pockets like that so that your brain doesn't have to be processing and thinking all the time. So we need that time to restore. And it's wonderful to do it before sleep because it allows you to go into sleep with lower cortisol levels, lower stress levels, go into sleep so that you can enhance the quality of your sleep.
Okay. And what are your advice in terms of nutrition? Like, do you recommend not eating some kind of product?
Yeah, so I love the concept of it's called glycemic variability, and it's not as complicated as it sounds. Basically, when we eat foods, and some foods more than other, our blood sugar goes up and our insulin goes up. Insulin's job is just to bring blood sugar back down, just for the simplified version of it. So when our insulin is constantly going up and down, which means we are constantly eating foods that spike it, it can lead to brain fog, and it also can lead to energy rises and drops. So what I want to do, and what I do recommend to my clients, is during your working day where you need to be very clear and very focused and present and sharp, I always recommend eating foods that have a low glycemic response. So we're looking at things like healthy fats, we're looking at things like protein, we're looking at things like plenty of vegetables. And if we are adding starchy sources of carbohydrates in there, doing it in the form of like rice or quinoa or sweet potatoes, and staying away from the processed foods, like the foods with sugar and the foods with flour that do cause that massive increase in insulin and then the drop. And this doesn't have to be like a black and white blanket statement, because some people hear no sugar, no flour, and they're like, say what? But I always ask myself, like, if I want to be clear and focused, so say I'm showing up for this interview today, I want to be clear and I want to be focused. I'm not going to go and eat 3 pieces of toast in the morning with jam on it. That is just going to send me up and right back down. So instead, this morning, I had 3 eggs and half an avocado this morning, protein, healthy fats, and I'm going to be incorporating my starch or carbohydrates at the end of the day. So I do get everything in there, but I'm always just focused on how it affects my brain and my ability to be clear more than anything else.
I think that's really interesting because a lot of people actually don't know that. I mean, like, let's say the truth. Most of the people are actually eating toast on the on the breakfast. So I think that's really interesting what you're actually. And how long do you think it actually take to implement all of that? Does it take 1 month? Or does it take like a few weeks?
So you could implement it all in 1 month, but here's why I recommend not to do that. My practice is very methodical, meaning I want to know, like I said, my clients are very busy entrepreneurs. We don't have enough time to be doing all the biohacks and all the health things. Like, that's just not an effective use of our time. So I need to be able to gauge, is something working or not? So if we, for example, let's say we remove sugar and flour for 30 days to test things out. I am specifically watching for, do your headaches go away? What's your energy like in the middle of the day? Are you waking up refreshed? How's your sleep at night? Are you still bloated? Like, I'm looking at all of these things and I'm just making tweaks, one thing at a time. So if we're finding that's good, I'll add one thing back in. But if we go and fix our sleep, fix our exercise, fix everything, all of this at the same time, what usually happens is overwhelm kicks in when the motivation and the excitement wears off and you quit everything. And B, you have no idea what's working. So for example, if you removed, let's just say tomatoes from your diet, and you also did a whole bunch of other things, we wouldn't be able to tell if the tomatoes was a food that was causing you digestion problems or, gastrointestinal distress. So I want to do things very systematically. So I actually extended over a 6-month process because my goal is to create health protocols for people, not quick fixes to get them where they want to be in 3 weeks. So I'm looking at the life of the performance of your brain and not just how you want to feel within 3 weeks because you've decided today's the day I want to start feeling better. But like, what little things can we layer in, kind of like the compound effect? How can we create that on a long-term play so that, 6 months from now, you're in an entirely different place and it's sustainable?
Yeah, and you are building step by step on each one in order to reach your goal. Yeah,
exactly.
I love that book. You said that actually biohacking your brain and your energy helps you do in 8 hours that most people do in a week. Why? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I think most people aren't aware of the performance level of their brain. When I often meet people, their brains are performing at about 50% of peak capacity. And they're going along thinking, this is normal that I'm tired. It's normal that I have an energy crash at 2. You know what I mean? It's normal that I have food cravings all the time. And we don't recognize how much this disrupts our productivity and our ability to think clearly. And we know that the clearer and faster we can work, the more we're going to get done in a day, right? So when I start looking at, okay, how can I make you think faster and better and bigger solutions? How can I then teach you to focus on results on your calendar instead of to-do tasks? How can I teach you how to effectively use the time you have in your day? What I often find is when we eliminate all of the garbage time, like the distractions from emails coming in, the distractions from somebody walking in and disrupting our workflow, when we eliminate that, we can consolidate an entire week's worth of productive work into that 8-hour period, because like our brains are meant to perform at such a higher capacity than we have recognized. And it's so interesting when you really start to feel what your body feels like when it's optimized, what your brain feels like when it's optimized. You just start to be like, how did I ever get anything done before? Because nothing taught me that more than having my daughter. Meaning I had to take a full-time business and compress it into half the amount of time, usually while she's napping. And I was petrified before she was born. I was like, nothing's going to work. I'm going to have to quit. It's amazing that my business still runs, and I'm actually running at a higher capacity, serving more clients in half the amount of time, because my brain no longer tolerates all of the time wasting that used to filter into my day because we are just not performing optimally.
Okay. And so how many hours are you working now during a day?
Yeah. So it's not so much per day as per week, because I schedule my weeks accordingly so that I have clients on certain days and, my back end work on other days. But during the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I usually see between 16 and 18 client hours on the Monday to Wednesday. So what I do is I make sure that those nights I have my best sleep and my best nutrition. Everything is peak because I need to be super clear on those days. So if you take that and add it to the days on the Thursday, Friday, which I usually just do 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, I'm probably working about 25 hours a week, which is, I think, perfect for the situation I'm in right now with my daughter and being a stay-at-home mom and a business owner all in one.
I will say that's amazing. I think a lot of women would like to do that because, especially when your kids are like really young and you don't have anyone to help you or anyone to come to take care of them. I think what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
One more question. What is being productive for you? What is your definition?
My definition of being productive is having the energy I need to produce the results that I intentionally set in my business. So for example, if I wanted to record 8 podcast episodes in a week, those are all results that are produced. So what I'm not putting on there is like check emails. That's not a result. So I'm focused on how many result-oriented tasks can I complete per week that intentionally move me forward on my goals. For me, it's a business goal. So how many result tasks can I put into my done column that proactively move me forward in my business? That's productivity to me.
That's a beautiful definition, and I totally agree with you because actually you are moving the needle when you are fixing this kind of objective and not just thinking about all the tasks that you actually have to do. So if you want to know more about biohacking, you can download the free guide of Tanessa, which is just right below, which is called 12 Ways to Biohack Your Energy. One more thing, Tanessa, before we leave. What single action can our audience take today to master the time and love the life?
Yeah, ensure that you are developing what I call a consistent circadian rhythm. So the single thing, and it will take a couple of weeks to start seeing the benefit of, but it is the best change I've ever made. Go to sleep and wake up at approximately the same time, give or take about half an hour for 2 to 3 consecutive weeks, and watch how much more focused you feel during the day, having enough quality sleep.
That's amazing. People, you should really follow this advice. Thank you very much, Tanessa, for your time today. It was really amazing. Have a lovely day all, and thanks for tuning into another episode of Master Your Time. Love your life. Bye-bye.